With your complete forecast, here's KATC Chief Meteorologist Rob Perillo.
Welcome back. Well, feeling pretty good out there this evening. Get out, step out a little bit after the newscast, of course. Enjoy the temperatures in the mid-70s, dew points in the upper 60s to near 70. And it will feel pretty good next couple of days, but kind of the calm before the storms. And we'll talk more about our tropical systems in just a bit. First off, though, we'll set the stage with the water vapor imagery. And this big upper level low has been pile driving nice dry air into our part of the world and is also influencing much of the western Gulf of Mexico. And that's going to have an influence on tropical depression number 14 that should become Tropical Storm Laura by tomorrow morning. We think this one's going to be Laura. The other one will be Marco more than likely. But this is also going to turn the system not only to the north, but may interact with it down the line. It remains to be seen, but nonetheless, there are some changes in the forecast intensity and track of this system. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Meanwhile, for us in the near term, nice dry air, this upper low with cold air aloft, producing showers and storms offshore southeast Louisiana during the course of the day today, and some impressive waterspout action as well. Most of the showers have diminished. We have one or two down toward Timbaleer Bay and then offshore southeast Louisiana. But if you checked out my social media feed, we had waterspouts galore going offshore. One shot had about 9 or 10 in them. This video right here, courtesy of Raney Frederick, showing about 5 or 6, some of these maturing out. And you don't want to get caught in these waterspouts. They're kind of like tornadoes. If they are on land, they're considered a tornado, but generally they'll have anywhere between 50 and 80-mile-an-hour winds, but you don't want to be in a 15 or 16-foot boat when one of these is nearby. You want to be on the platform where Raney was, and this was generally in the Green Canyon area where I saw most of the waterspouts coming in this afternoon. Some pretty cool stuff. Check out my social media feed for some more video there. So here we go as we take a look at the big picture. We get into the tropics. We have one system that's got about a 50-50 chance of developing down the line, but we'll worry about that one in 5 to 10 days. In the near term, we have two systems, tropical depression number 13 and 14 back here in the Caribbean. Now 13 looking a little bit better organized on satellite imagery. Hurricane hunters couldn't find a closed circulation on this system either, but maintaining it as a tropical depression, and we do think it's going to become a tropical storm and eventually a hurricane and eventually threatening the eastern Gulf, and we'll show you that in just a bit. Meanwhile, TD14, the center kind of reforming a little bit farther to the north, so now the core of the system may miss land, so the forecast, although it hasn't changed on current conditions, the forecast now brings this to a hurricane prior to a landfall somewhere on the Yucatan. It will graze the Honduras coast where tropical storm warnings are posted. Tropical storm warnings on the Yucatan plus hurricane watches here. And then the big change now, this is expected to become a hurricane as it approaches the upper Texas coast. The forecast line hasn't changed a whole lot. Maybe it's shifted a little bit to the west, but let's look at some of the scenarios associated with this tropical storm. First off, the risk of tropical storm winds now increasing up to near 30 or 40% right along the immediate Louisiana coastline, so we could get some wind. And here comes TD number 13, which will likely become a Hurricane Marco, and this could be Hurricane Laura. I don't ever recall having two hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico and this in the northern Gulf at one time. So this would be history making for sure. And it's not a done deal that this one's going to be the eastern Gulf. This may come further to the west as well. So we're going to be dancing with tropical systems going into next week. So here's the storm scenarios I talked about on my Facebook Live. If we follow the storm track, what are the impacts on Acadiana? About 40% chance we're going to see some locally heavy rains, maybe some wind, tornado threat perhaps, surge threat along the coast as well. Anything that hits over by Houston, upper Texas coast creates a surge here locally. How much of a surge, that we can't tell you that at this point. If it takes a more western trek on the western part of this cone, again, most of the times the storm comes in the cone, but 30% it lands outside of the cone. So if it's on the western end, less impacts, but on the eastern end, we'll still have some rain and wind impacts. Tornado threat will be lower. Surge threat will certainly be lower as well if it's east of our area. So here's the moisture, tropical moisture. It's going to be working its way towards us as we get into Monday and Tuesday. And there you see the other system. So it's going to be a busy week ahead. And as for rainfall, model's not capturing it quite yet, but there's going to be several inches of rain. Some of this yellow is going to move into Texas, and it's going to be very wet over to the east. Again, rainfall preliminary right now. Hopefully the storms move along. So in the near term, looking good. Temperatures lower 90s, and then rain chances low. Tomorrow is Saturday. Sunday they pick up. up. And look out for Tuesday. Prepare for tropical wind and maybe heavy rains. Of course, we'll have more in the days to come. That's it for right now. We'll be right back right after this.